What is up YouTube, and welcome back to another 7 Nights Rebirth video, and today we are talking all about Yeonhee. Now as you can see from my profile picture and my border, I did actually get her costume. We're not going to be talking about the costume today because one, I have a separate video about me pulling the costume on my channel, but two, it's pretty simple. If you want the cosmetics, then you can summon for her. I will say the first few summons, however, are definitely worth it because the summons do get more expensive, up to 6,000, but you'll see that some of the stuff you can get, I know it's hard to see, but there's 20 key bundles, there's 10 rate up summons, 40 regular summons, 20 pet wishlist summons, and like crystals for skill enhancing. Very worth it, but as you summon more and more, because it gets more expensive, it really comes down to, are you going to go for the costume? And if you are, then you definitely want to summon more. If you don't care about the costume, I just do the summons like once or twice for rubies, and then probably bail. Now, instead of the costume, we are talking about Yeonhee's regular banner, and by regular banner, I mean her rate up summon banner, and if she's worth summoning and how many copies you actually want to go for. So Yeonhee is an extremely powerful character. If you actually look at her statistics, you'll see that she's used in adventure, arena, and ruby farming for the most part. She's extremely powerful for nightmare pushing in terms of like getting to higher stages. In fact, she's probably the best DPS alongside Kyle. Usually what people do is they run a magic team and then they run a death team for their second team and push up to chapter 20 that way. You can also use Kyle instead of the magic team, but there are some stages where you do want magic damage because they are immune to physical damage, and Yeonhee is just the best magic DPS in the game for PvE. Also very good in tower. You can't see her here because, or you can't see tower here because it only goes to top 3. But in tower, she's absolutely insanely strong. For arena, I do think she's not as good anymore in PvP because the meta has shifted a bit, especially because there's so many dispellers and she is pretty squishy. She only has all damage nullification. If you put her on a ring, she is okay, but for the most part, mostly a PvE character while also being pretty good in PvP, but not like super meta. And of course, number 3 is where most people use her actually. Should be number 1, honestly. It's going to be ruby farming. So because ruby farming for nightmare does require 2 teams, Yeonhee is like one of the best options for ruby farming. The reason why is because she has an AoE attack. This hits super hard, by the way. She can also sleep, which makes it so that she lives longer. She has a 3 target attack after, and she just has a passive that makes her really tanky with her all damage nullification, and she gets a magic attack boost. I will say, however, you're going to see her basic attack is only a single target attack, and until you get her to T2, this does not turn into a 2 target attack. So at T2, it turns into a 2 enemy attack. At T1, it's single enemy. So because of that, when you're ruby farming, because you only have 1 all enemy attack, an AoE attack, and then your other ability hits only 3 targets, you will want to unlock her 2 target basic attack to clean up after you use her skills by T2ing her. So you'll see, for example, if you can't really, see it or visualize it, I'll show you guys my Yeonhee here who has the skin on. Let's go. You're going to see that her basic attack is 2 enemies. The reason why is because Transcendence 2 changes it to 2 enemies. Her Transcendence 6 is also very powerful. It gives her a 3-turn 35% magic damage boost. So this stacks with her magic attack boost. So you have like, not really how it works, but just think of it like a 60% damage boost at the start of battle. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, she's a pretty insane character. And I think it's pretty obvious from what I'm saying that you definitely want to pull for her. Now, in terms of how many copies you want to go for, I would say you want 3 copies. So you want to get her to T2. So the reason why is because 1, it allows you to ruby farm with her. I think before you get her to T2, she's pretty bad at ruby farming, honestly. She can probably do Nightmare 1-1 and maybe 6-1, but you really need her at T2 to do anything higher. And you will want to go higher eventually to get higher level rings. And also because when you get her to T2, when this turns into a 2 enemy attack, she becomes a lot stronger in Castle Rush. The reason why is if we look at certain Castle Rush bosses, so I think a good one that she can be used for is probably Fodina. You're going to see that there is a passive where she takes less damage from single target attacks and quintuple target attacks. And if you actually upgrade her to T2, she becomes a perfectly viable character for Castle Rush because she has a basic attack that doesn't count as single target. So if you actually build your Yeonhee, then you're getting a Nightmare Farmer, you're getting a Nightmare Ruby farmer, you're getting a Nightmare Adventure pushing character, you're getting a Tower pushing character, you're getting a good PvP character, and also a good Castle Rush character for the Magic Days. So 5 things she's good at in just one character. So that's why she's really good, and you really want to pull her. Even though, like I said, she isn't as strong in PvP, doesn't matter. You're gonna use her in so many areas of content, especially if you're newer to the game or still progressing through, Nightmare and stuff like that. She's absolutely crazy. Her damage is just ridiculous. Like, her skills at first glance don't look that strong, but trust me, she does absurd amount of damage, and it's a big reason why you want to get her. So yeah, I will say for her banner, I mean, if you have her skin, you probably definitely want her anyways, because that way you can use her skin. But if you are hurting on rubies, I would say probably skip the skin. I know it sucks because cosmetics are awesome in this game. The skins are great, and this skin especially looks really great. But you have to realize it costs 33k to pity. That's going to be a hard pity on Yeonhee, and then you'll have enough to get the soft pity. So that's like 330 summons on the banner. So you have to think about it. Is it really worth going for cosmetics if I am newer to the game, or if I'm free to play or a low spender? Because right now we have the banner for one of the best characters in the game, Yeonhee, and really good at T2, like I said, also extremely powerful at T6, and definitely a character you want to go for. In case you want to see how good she is at ruby farming, obviously mine is T6, so she's going to be stronger. This is her in 18-1 Nightmare, and just look at her damage here. This is with the farming pet. She basically almost one-shots some of the monsters with her AoE ability, and you're going to see with the T2 effect, after she uses the second ability, she can hit 2 enemies here, right? So without her being T2, or I guess in my case, she's T6, without her having that 2 target attack, you're going to find that Nightmare farming with her is a lot harder. So definitely something to consider. I don't think she's a character you just want one copy of, because it kind of sucks that she becomes so much more powerful at T2. And a lot of characters in this game, like even like Elysia, right? She doesn't get that much from her T2, right? She just gets, I forget what she gets, but it's nothing too crazy. But she's a character that gets so much stronger at T2 and also very powerful at T6. I will say also, if you already have her at T2, or you're pulling for her, a good breakpoint to also go for is T4. The reason why is because at T4 you get 18% crit rate. This helps gearing her, this makes gearing her a lot easier, and this will be very important for farming the harder Nightmare stages, because I think a long time ago, like a month and a half ago, when I was trying to get into like 13-1 or 11-1 Nightmare, I wasn't able to farm it until my Yeonhee got to T4, because that gave her enough crit rate where I could run this crit damage weapon on her, and this just gave her so much more damage. So something to consider. T2, T4, T6 are all good stopping points for her to go for, but it really comes down to, what are you looking for? Are you looking for just an early Nightmare farmer, like chapter 1 to like chapter 10ish? Then you can get her to T2. If you want to farm with her into harder stages, you definitely want her T4. And if you want to use her in PvP and like push higher Nightmare stages, and even farm like the really late game Nightmare stages, then you eventually do want to get her to T6. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video though, guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it helped you guys out in making your decision. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.